progress.
More or less. They might croak a little bit. But,
that's what happens with the East Texas lakes.
Is it?
Yeah. You probably need some inoculations now, just letting you know.
Thanks.
All right, and what is your name, sir?
My name's Ian Redmond. Do you want me looking at your eye line?
Yeah, look at my good eye over here.
My name's Ian Redmond, that's I-A-N-R-E-D-M-O-N-D.
And you are a doctor?
I have an honorary doctorate.
Okay, all right. And where are you from? I'm thinking you might be from Dallas with that accent.
I'm from England.
And what are you doing over here?
Well, I've been invited to speak at the Texas Bigfoot Research Conference tomorrow, and I'm very excited to be here. My work has been mainly with gorillas and other known species, and I'll be talking about what lessons we might learn comparing the studies of gorillas, and particularly how relatively recent those studies began. I understand that the oldest resident of Texas died recently at the age of 114. So when she was born and a child, mountain gorillas were not known to science. They were known to the people that lived around mountain gorilla habitat, but we in the outside world didn't learn about them until 1902. And that's a relatively recent discovery. And you could consider if the Virunga volcanoes, made famous by Gorillas in the Mist, the film and the book and all that, if they were a little bit more remote and hadn't been studied, then perhaps mountain gorillas might still be travellers' tales and little bits of rumours coming out from a very remote area. Now obviously Texas isn't that remote, but there are bits of Texas, I'm told, that are very difficult to get to, and you only have to look at this bit of woodland. If you're 50 yards in that direction, you're not going to be seen. So if you have an intelligent creature that is avoiding contact with humans, and the only time it's seen is when it comes into contact with human habitat on its terms, or accidentally, crossing the road at night and so on, then you have a scenario, pretty much what you have today with these reports coming in from people. So some of my scientist colleagues might be surprised that I would come and speak at a conference like this, but I think having a closed mind is not being a scientist. You have to say, show me the evidence. And people ask me, do I believe in Bigfoot? It's not a religion, it's either a species or a myth, and we need to investigate which it is. And the more evidence I see, the more compelling some of that evidence is, and we have to perhaps take it more seriously and apply the cold analytical eye of science to these reports. And if they don't stand up, they don't stand up. It seems to me, though, that there are enough nuggets of reliable observers who see something that is indisputably not a known species, that we should take it seriously.
That's true. So you try not to be skeptical. You try to look at it with an open mind.
Oh no, I try to be skeptical. That's the whole point of a scientist, to be skeptical. Show me the evidence. But if the evidence stacks up, if it's incontrovertible, then you have to take it seriously. And at the moment we're still in that interesting area. It's fascinating, people's sightings, but there isn't a specimen, and so far there isn't concrete evidence that is incontrovertible. So we're at a point where it's all open to discovery. It's an interesting place to be. Before the formal description of gorilla, there were travellers' tales, there were native legends, and people in their armchairs would say, "Harumph, don't believe a word of it." And then a specimen arrived. Well, we haven't got the Bigfoot specimen yet, but maybe time will tell.
What is the best piece of evidence you've looked at?
The best piece of evidence? Well, the famous Patterson-Gimlin film is compelling. That was filmed in 1967, the same year that Diane Fossey began her study. And when I see that film, and I've seen a recently clarified version of it, where some of the I've seen a recent version of it where it's slightly clearer, and you can see the muscles moving. You can see the back of this creature is not dissimilar to the back of a silverback. But in 1967 there was only one book, which was George Schaller's book on mountain gorillas, and no good video footage, nothing you could base your model on if you're trying to mock up a costume. And given that if you look at a more recent film like Gorillas in the Mist, where they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars creating these costumes, and anyone with an experienced eye says, that's a costume, that's a real gorilla. And they mix the two, and the average person doesn't notice a difference, but you can easily tell. So I find that a very compelling bit of footage. And some of the descriptions by scientists who are reluctant to publish their descriptions, but will tell you them in private, of what they've seen are difficult to discount, given that it's someone who has a scientific reputation. He's not trying to get publicity, he or she, and those are compelling, but not yet hard proof. So keep an open mind.
All right. Anything you'd like to add?
One of the things that attracted me to this organization in Texas is that their name includes the word conservancy, the Texas Bigfoot Research Conservancy, and most of my time is spent trying to ensure that gorillas, chimpanzees, orangutans, bonobos, the known great apes, and gibbons of course, and other species, are not driven to extinction by human activities. And we know that as human activities destroy more and more natural habitat, convert it to agriculture or to roads or to cities, whether the species that live there are described by science or not, they are disappearing. So I think we have to recognize that as is often the case, every year there are new species of primates described by scientists, and almost immediately, bang, they're on the red list, facing extinction because their habitat's being destroyed or because they're being hunted. And the idea that, as well as documenting the reports, trying to get a formal description of the species, we also need to have in our minds its conservation and the protection of its habitat is an important consideration. But of course the authorities are not going to do that until you have a formal description. So until that day, then the conservation is hypothetical, but perhaps one day the Sasquatch, Bigfoot, will become a flagship species for natural habitat in North America, which is protected because it's Bigfoot habitat, but we're not there yet.
That'll work. Thanks, sir.
Okay.